Oh, not very good. Pretty nice.
I got one right here.
Morning. Morning, Sheriff. How are you today? Huh? Yeah. Happy solstice. Well, good morning, everybody. That usually solicits a response. Good morning, Sheriff. Good morning. There you go. So we have a couple things to talk about today, more in particular the events that took place last night on Las Vegas Boulevard. So the best thing I can do is throw out an admonishment at the beginning. It's an ongoing investigation, and I'll do the best I can to answer any questions you may have. So I'm sure there'll be some frustration associated with some of my responses, but that's where we are in particular to the investigation. So if you bear with me, I'll read through my prepared statement, and then we'll get into the Q&A. But prior to that, I have to acknowledge two individuals standing next to me. That's the District Attorney, Steve Wolfson, to my left, and he will talk about the charges that the suspect is being charged with currently, and then what's possibly going to be pending in the future. And to my right is Deputy Chief Jeff Buchanan from Clark County Fire Department. And the reason why I have him standing there is in particular because of their fantastic response that they had last night to the event as it unfolded. As you know, our success with public safety is reliance on our partners that we can rely on during critical incidents. And Clark County Fire was instrumental, along with a plethora of other individuals like AMR, Medic West, to take care of the victims the best they could and facilitate the transport. Additionally, other public safety individuals, particular NHP and their response, the members of LVMPD and their continued investigation. Now, you have to be careful because some of my folks to my right over here have been working all night, and they're doing the best they can to facilitate the victims associated with this event and to track down the background of our suspect. And then before I get into the details, in particular to the Mayor, Carolyn Goodman, the County Chairman, Steve Sisolak, and our Governor, Brian Sandoval, all three of them I was in contact with last night, and they offered all the assistance they could to my department and the community in order for a successful arrest and eventual prosecution. So without further ado, Just after 6:30 p.m., initial calls to 911 indicated a vehicle had driven onto the sidewalk and struck several pedestrians, and someone thought there might have been gunshots. I'm here to tell you right now there was no gunshots that we could determine. I believe it to be a result of the damage occurred by the vehicle. People may have perceived that it was gunshots. And as of now, we do not believe it to be an act of terrorism. Now, I want you to dwell on that for a second. We are a long ways of being into this investigation and all the intimate details. We had trouble identifying the suspect in the beginning throes of the investigation. We do believe we have her properly identified now, but we are having difficulty obtaining her background. She is believed to be from the Oregon area, and we are going to do the best we can throughout the day to determine her background. In light of that, and not having those unknowns, we're not 100% ruling out the possibility of terrorism. The intentional act that occurred on the boulevard is going to be very hard for us to explain at face value. So we are working through that, but I am comfortable saying now that I do not believe it to be an act of terrorism. But with that admonishment, we are still working through it with the assistance of the FBI. She's a 24-year-old woman driving a car with a 3-year-old female child in the back who drove her vehicle up onto the sidewalk and struck more than 24 innocent people. Video confirms that we believe it to be an intentional act. We do have a video available, and it's through a plethora of different venues. One is the properties themselves on Las Vegas Boulevard, and also our regional crime cameras that we have here at LVMPD, and then additionally from any videos obtained from citizens at our request. So we're still trying to receive as much video as we can, and it is a request out to the public to continue to provide us with information, but we do have a pretty detailed video that shows that it was an intentional act. The suspect, Lakeisha Holloway, repeatedly drove her car over pedestrians. Some jumped on her car and ran up to the window and banged on it, trying to get her to stop, but she didn't. As of now, one person was killed and over 30 people are taken to area hospitals. 3 are critical with head injuries. We do not know at this point if any of them are Nevada residents. We haven't had information at this point whether any of them are, in fact, Nevada residents. She left the scene and drove a few blocks to the Tuscany Casino, which is as you turn east off the boulevard, eastbound Flamingo, where she parked in a parking spot at that location, exited her vehicle, left her toddler within the vehicle, and contacted a valet parker and advised that she had ran over some individuals on Las Vegas Boulevard and requested the valet parker to call 911. So District Attorney Wolfson will advise you on the charges pending Ms. Holloway currently, and then what potential future charges will occur as we process through the victims at the various area hospitals. The victims were transported to 4 separate hospitals, that being Sunrise, UMC, Spring Valley, and Desert Springs Hospital, with the majority of them being transported to our 2 separate trauma centers, which would be UMC and Sunrise. As of now, the locations of the victims, actually where they reside throughout the United States and other countries, we are able to assess individuals from Quebec, Canada, Oregon, Colorado, Florida, Washington, California, and Mexico. So as far as any more specific details, I'm happy to answer any questions, but prior to that, I'd like to bring up Mr. Wolfson so he could advise you on the charges.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning, everybody. Like the Sheriff, I'd quickly like to acknowledge all of the first responders. I mean, you can all imagine what it must have been like only 16 hours ago on our Las Vegas Strip, with a 2,000-plus pound vehicle ramming into literally 30 people or so. And I want to acknowledge and thank not only law enforcement, but our other first responders for the incredible work they do. My office is beginning to receive paperwork on this case. As you can imagine, it's only been a few hours, but we intend to file charges immediately. We are going to start off by filing one count of murder with the use of a deadly weapon. We will also be filing additional charges as the information flows to our office. The other charges we're considering are a multitude of counts of attempted murder with use of a deadly weapon, child abuse and neglect, which pertains to the toddler which was in the back seat of this vehicle, as well as the felony count of leaving the scene of an accident, which I'm sure many of you realize as of October 1st is a non-probationable offense that this lady faces. Once again, charges initially are going to be filed, but as we receive more information, like the sheriff said, this is an ongoing investigation with videotapes and witness statements and other physical evidence to review. I anticipate a great number of charges to be filed. This woman is in custody. We're going to do everything in our power to see that she remains in custody under the law and file charges appropriately and seek a vigorous prosecution and seek justice in this case. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. So at this point, I'm happy to entertain questions.
Sheriff, everybody wants to know why she did it. What's similar?
That's exactly what we would like to find out. Right now, she made statements on the scene at the point of arrest. As I mentioned, the investigation is ongoing, but we haven't determined to the exact fact what the motive was. We believe that she had some disassociation with the father of her child, and then events prior to the event, her being what we believe to be in Las Vegas approximately a week and homeless and residing within her vehicle. We don't know the exact recipient event that caused her to snap and or whether it was planned previously.
Were there any weapons in the vehicle?
No, not at this point. We are executing the search warrant on the vehicle as we speak, but we have not located a weapon as of this moment in time.
Can you tell us who the vehicle owner is?
The owner resides in Portland, Oregon, but the suspect advised that it is in fact her vehicle, but it is registered to a separate individual in Oregon.
Sheriff, did she offer any explanation of why she did what she did?
She did, and I'm not comfortable disclosing that at this point because it is an ongoing investigation, but I can't go any further into that comment.
Sheriff, where's the child?
Child is in Child Haven, here locally in Las Vegas, under protective custody, and then we will do everything in our power to attempt to locate the father. We believe the father may be residing in Dallas, Texas, and at some point we believed that she was attempting to make her way that direction via Las Vegas.
Do you know if she has a history of mental illness at all?
No. See, this is the issue associated with her individually. We are attempting, she does not show previous arrests in NCIC, so we're doing the best we can to track down all family members and or friends within the Oregon area to determine her background the best we can, and also trying to locate the father of the child.
Did you test her blood?
We tested blood. We recovered blood subsequent her arrest. She did not demonstrate signs of being under the influence of alcohol, but we had a drug recognition expert respond to the scene and determined that he believed she to be under some sort of stimulant. So.
Did you get an initial read from the blood draw?
No, that takes some time prior to us having the ability to do that, but obviously in this case it will be expedited.
Sheriff, why can you not rule out terrorism as a potential cause of this?
Well, as I said, the video obviously shows intention. Her exiting the roadway onto the sidewalk and then obviously plowing through the pedestrians on the sidewalk. But as far as terrorism, we don't know what the intent was behind it. and we don't know enough of her background to make that determination. As you can imagine, what happened in San Bernardino, a review of all the social media and everything else led the FBI down that path. We haven't had the time or the luxury to get through all those investigative leads yet.
What
So,
day did she arrive in Las Vegas?
we believe she's been here approximately a week. I don't have the exact day.
How's the child doing?
The child's fine.
Are you guys going to release the surveillance video?
Not at this point. As a matter of prosecution, I'm confident it will be released at a proper point in time. But our concern at this point is the jury pool and our ability to have an untainted pool. So.
Assuming you ultimately do rule out terrorism, is this any sort of a wake-up call about the threat on the Strip?
Well, I wouldn't perceive it as a threat. What I would perceive is public safety and traffic issues associated with the Strip. It's an ongoing discussion with the county and Public Works in order to create a safe environment on Las Vegas Boulevard, and our ability to put barricades, barriers, and everything else associated with pedestrian traffic whenever you have a high-density vehicle traffic associated with it, to put those things in place in order to ensure safety.
You said that you haven't completely ruled out terrorism. Is part of that because of the statement that she made?
No, because our lack of knowledge of her background.
Okay, just the background, not something she said.
Correct. Nothing that she said.
Is she going to be eligible for the death penalty, District Attorney?
You know, that's a consideration.
Could you move to the microphone?
Sure.
Sorry.
Like any murder case, that's something that is always considered, but it's too early to even begin talking about that. I've read one page of a report, and I'm sure when this case comes to our office after all of these great investigators finish their work, there's going to be a lot of paper to review, a person's background and all the circumstances before we consider the death penalty.
Sheriff, you're going to have 300,000 people at the same place on the Las Vegas Strip in 2 weeks. What can you tell us?
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. Obviously, it's America's party happening in 2 weeks, and we're doing everything we can to ensure everybody's safety. That was an ongoing process, and everybody knows that's something we do here every year, and it's a year-long process, and it has been ramped up in the most recent months in light of what's been taking place across the United States and the world. So I'm confident at this point we have all the mechanisms in place to be successful, and we are being very proactive to be successful. But as far as this having a direct correlation to New Year's Eve, I do not believe it to be so.
Was there any discussion about not doing New Year's Eve?
No, sir, not at all. I'm pretty confident that we can provide a safe environment.
Sheriff, with all the questions you have, what would you say at this point today is the biggest unknown in this case to you?
Well, the question was presented 2 different times. What caused her to do this? We need to be more comfortable in the reasons behind that, and in particular, what her background is that we need to be made aware of.
Did she offer any remorse?
I couldn't comment on that. My personal opinion was she was very stoic at the time of an event.
Sheriff, can you give us some more detail about the number of people, or perhaps Jeff, the number of people hospitalized, transported, treated?
Yes, my count currently, bear with me while I go to my notes. And obviously, I can't release names or extensive injuries on these individuals outside of the individual that passed away and or the 3 that have critical head injuries that we are concerned with. But the total count associated with the event so far, and some people self-transported, some people will determine 12 hours later that they have injuries that they need to report. But as of now, I am comfortable with the number of 35.
Sheriff, you said she was stoic. What do you mean by that?
Well, she didn't appear to be distressed due to her actions. That's the best way I could describe it.
Can you talk a little bit about the efficiency of the response and how that may have saved some lives?
Yes, great question. The efficiency of response was fantastic, and that's why I thought it was important for me to mention our public safety partners in the beginning of this. I believe we did a great job in responding to an incident that went across several city blocks. and the ability to get the victims transported in a timely manner, and the ability for us to respond, apprehend a suspect, and conduct an investigation.
Sheriff, could you describe taking her into custody, what occurred, what was, you said that a valet partner was asked to call.
Yeah, so there was an eventual call into 911. Well, obviously, because of the recent event that had taken place just a few short blocks away, it was easy to correlate the two incidents, and we responded, and she was basically standing there in a position of non-threatening, and she was taken into custody without incident.
Is she completely coherent? I mean, you talked about her.
Well, the initial conversations with our investigator, she did appear coherent.
Was it true that she was living at Planet Hollywood and then kicked off their property?
Well, we're trying to confirm that. I would not describe it as living at Planet Hollywood. I did describe to you earlier that she was living in her vehicle. She was utilizing different parking structures throughout the valley in order to reside, to spend the night. We are still tracking that down, but we do believe she was at Planet Hollywood earlier. So,
With the child?
with the child.
How do you spell her name? First and last name.
First name spelled Lakeisha, middle initial of N.
And like Nancy?
Yes, ma'am. And last name Holloway, Holloway.
And you said 24 years of age?
Yes, sir.
And you said Oregon, did you say which town? Is it Portland or some other?
Well, the vehicle comes from the Portland area. We are still tracking down her place of residence within Oregon. So,
What do you know about her actions last night prior to the crashes?
we don't. All we know is what I described here. Is that she was in Vegas for approximately a week. Now, these are all comments made by her. And I don't want to get into too much of those comments because of, we got prosecution things that we have to deal with. But we believe her to be here for approximately a week, residing in her vehicle in lack of money. So we don't know if she was soliciting alms associated with her stay here or she had some money associated with her stay, but we're doing the best we can to track that down.
How did the public cooperate or not cooperate?
Well, we didn't have any incidents with non-cooperation. The video is very telling. Many of the people in direct vicinity of the accident were attempting to get her into custody, trying to access the vehicle by banging on the windows, opening the doors in order to take her into custody, citizen arrest type action. And then subsequently, we received numerous calls in support of direction of travel and suspect description. And then obviously the medical professionals received a great assistance from the public within the Las Vegas Boulevard in assistance with the victims.
Can you recount how?
Her mugshot from the incident last night?
Yes, sir.
And is that booking today or yesterday?
It would be last night, so.
Last night?
Yes.
Can you recount for
When we had encountered her, the only difference would be her hair was pulled back in a ponytail.
Can you recount for us going on the sidewalk once, twice?
And that's another great question. It was presented several times last night that the car entered the sidewalk, exited the sidewalk, entered the sidewalk. So we're trying to bring that down the best we can. At this point, we believe she entered the sidewalk in front of the north end of Planet Hollywood at the escalator area. She traversed the entrances into the Paris, which would be one to believe that she exited the sidewalk at that point, and she continued to travel northbound down the east sidewalk of Las Vegas Boulevard. And the best we can tell at this point, she exited around the area of Bally's and subsequently re-entered the sidewalk. We are doing the best we can to reconstruct that timeline and whether we had victims associated to the Bally's area.
What's her estimated speed?
We don't know yet.
There are posts, there are news racks, and other things on the sidewalk there. Did she hit those as well?
Yes, she did.
And she had all four tires of the vehicle on the sidewalk?
Yes, sir.
Has Metro advocated for the sidewalk barriers in the past that you mentioned earlier?
Well, no, that's been an ongoing conversation. You know, obviously we're based on hospitality in Las Vegas, and I appreciate that. But sometimes security measures don't dictate hospitality, and it's a ongoing conversation that we have with the county and ensure that we can put preventative measures in place to protect the safety of our pedestrians. And, you know, importantly, the county has been going through approximately 2+ years of public works changes on Las Vegas Boulevard, widening the sidewalk areas, moving news racks, and a lot of things that are a benefit to pedestrian movement. But that's an ongoing conversation, and we will continue to pursue the best we can.
Do you know approximately how many people signed or gave witness statements to police?
I don't have that number. Dan, do you have an approximate number?
We interviewed all but 30, but there was probably another at least 30 written statements too, so we're still going through all that.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're still going to receive some more today, Joe. So
Calls still coming in today.
Is it possible to say how many people were on that sidewalk, those sidewalks, at the time that this happened?
well, yeah, video reconstruction, we'll be able to tell that number, but my view of the sidewalk in excess of 100. So, yeah.
Mr. District Attorney, when will be the first court appearance, and where?
Well, she's scheduled for what is called a 48-hour hearing tomorrow morning, but that is not a courtroom hearing. That is a paper review where a judge reviews to determine whether there's probable cause to continue to hold her, and then a 72-hour hearing perhaps on Wednesday. However, I will tell you that in coordination with the police department, my office is working quickly. So those dates may be moved up. She could be in court as early as tomorrow morning. We anticipate filing charges, if not today, tomorrow. So she'll be in court facing those charges either tomorrow or Wednesday morning.
Currently being held without bail?
She is. Murder with use of a deadly weapon is a set in court type of setting, which means there's no bail until she appears in court.
Do you anticipate taking this to a grand jury?
You know, it's too early. We take some cases to the grand jury for certain reasons, and we take other cases to a preliminary hearing. That'll be decided in the next couple of weeks.
Sheriff, in your experience as a police for some 30 years, does this remind you of any other cases you've ever experienced?
Well, I mean, if you review the incidents that take place on Las Vegas Boulevard, you're fully aware of a previous incident where we had a similar circumstances out in front of Monamica B, which is at the Paris. An individual entered the sidewalk, pretty close proximity to the incident last night, and we did have individuals struck by a vehicle at that point. By the luck of God, we had an off-duty police officer dining in close proximity and was able to take that individual into custody. But as far as the number of individuals involved, I cannot recall anyone of this high level of victimization. All right.
Ask the fire chief or deputy chief how many firefighters responded. Any detail you could give us on this one?
Sure, we had over 70 personnel on scene. Excuse me, we had over 70 personnel respond on scene, and they established a unified command, which I'd be remiss if we didn't thank the law enforcement for that unified command that helped the incident go very much more smoothly. But there are over 70 personnel on scene, and we did use the resources from Las Vegas Fire and Rescue and from AMR, and everybody worked in partnership.
Jeff, how many ambulances were brought to the scene for this?
Well, a level 3 MCI requires a couple of strike teams. I'm not sure if all those resources did actually arrive on scene. There were upwards of 10 plus ambulances that arrived.
And we heard of transports with more than one person per ambulance?
That's correct.
That is correct.
Were there any injuries to first responders?
No, there's no reported injuries at this time, first responders.
Some media are reporting she said she was tired. Can you confirm that?
I'm sorry?
There's some reports that she...
Who's she? Oh, the suspect? Okay. That she was tired? I can't get clarification on that comment. I just can imagine if somebody's stressed for an extended period of time that they may exhibit those traits, but I'm not sure if comments were made to that effect. Okay, before we conclude, I just want to again repeat my condolences to the families and the victims themselves. This is a tragic event, and hopefully it'll never happen again in our community, but we will do the best